Senator Manchin this morning in a radio interview said this is staff, and they drove some things that they put some things out that were absolutely inexcusable. They know what it is, and that's it. Do you know what he's referring to there, and do you have a response to his comments about staff?
I don't. I would point you to Senator Manchin to outline further.
And then can you walk through, and I know you don't want to talk about yesterday's statement, but the cost benefit of, you guys have been so cautious, I think the president's direction, of never speaking ill or laying out details of negotiations, what the calculation was by deciding to put out a 700-plus word statement being very clear about, I think, some palpable anger inside the White House related to a critical vote in the caucus.
Well, I think Senator Manchin had a strong statement yesterday, and we had a strong statement as well. And we're ready to move forward and get this done and work like hell to do that. With Senator Manchin, with members of the Democratic caucus across the Democratic Party, and that's our focus moving forward. But that was our basis of our calculus yesterday.
And just one more quick one. My understanding is what Senator Manchin put on the table, which you referenced in your statement, was it a final offer? It hadn't been rejected. It was kind of a process that was underway. What is the process now? Are you working through proposals? Is staff dealing with policy issues? Where do things go from here in terms of the actual proposal?
Well, clearly the next couple of weeks will be important and pivotal and certainly involve high-level staff engagements, involve the president and his engagements directly with members. And we have been engaged with leadership, with members of the Senate and their staff over the course of the last 24 hours to talk about the path forward. You saw, I'm sure, Leader Schumer's statement this morning, and we will stay in close touch and in close coordination with him and his team on the path forward in January.
On Build Back Better, did you see the Steve Clements article today blaming the White House for incivility towards Senator Manchin, and specifically the statement that was released on Thursday, I think, Thursday evening, in which the read or the assessment was that the senator thought that statement blamed him in a way that wasn't in keeping with the approach that he and the president had been dealing with.
I have not yet read his article. It's been a busy day, but I will tell you that our intention, I think if you look back to last Thursday, was to provide an update on the future of Build Back Better. And I think it is not a secret where there is opposition to Build Back Better moving forward and where there is support, which is the vast majority of the Democratic caucus. That was not intended to be directive or hurtful, but to be a statement of fact. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. In a press call this afternoon, Representative Jayapal, chair, one of the House Progressive Caucus, called on President Biden to pursue executive action to pass components of the Build Back Better legislation. Is this something that the White House would consider or even thinks is a realistic possibility to pass some of these elements?
Well, I haven't had a chance to discuss Representative Jayapal's call with our legislative team. I'm not aware of that being under discussion. Obviously, we have used executive authority and executive action for a range of steps to make a range of progress, and the president has not hesitated to do that. The benefit of legislation is obviously it makes it permanent, so there's a lot of value in that, but I can see if that's something more under active consideration.
Regarding communications with Senator Manchin, you've not said much on that. I mean, are you able to confirm that whether or not President Biden has reached out to the senator today?
I'm not going to detail contacts further. Go ahead.
Thanks. Just to drill down a little bit on that, moving forward, you've already taken Senator Manchin to the woodshed. You're going to invite him back into the fold? Are you going to try to reach out to him?
Of course, and we conveyed yesterday that.
And secondly...
And I would also note the last sentence of my 2 sentences of the statement was, but we will not relent in the fight to help Americans with their child care, health care, prescription drug costs, and elder care. The fight for Build Back Better is too important to give up. We will find a way to move forward next year. It also made clear that we absolutely want to work with Senator Manchin and all Democrats to get this done.
Are you going to work with try to bring GOP members into the fold?
We would certainly welcome their efforts, or whether their support for lowering costs for the American people and driving up economic growth.
Did the White House share the Thursday statement with Senator Manchin before it was put out, and what was his reaction to that?
I'm not going to detail private discussions or private sharing of statements in advance.
And then on his call out to Democrats for badgering him, saying that they believe that he could be moved in his position somehow. Is there any regret within the White House or within discussions with Democratic leadership just about how this negotiation went, given that statement from him, and he feels that he's been badgered and beaten?
Well, that certainly is not our objective, never has been our objective, but our objective is getting this legislation passed and reminding the American people and all people who could vote for it what the stakes are. So no, we don't have regrets about aggressively communicating about it and making sure people understand that if we don't pass this legislation, costs for the American people will go up and economic growth projections will not go in the right direction.
shows, though, that Democrats just don't have a large enough majority to pull off this kind of transformational legislation without these kinds of significant bumps in the road. But the president, ran as a moderate. Joe Biden is asking for any major policy changes, or excuse me, Manchin's asking for major policy changes to be bipartisan. So why are Biden and Manchin seemingly so far apart on this, where Manchin's wanting to bring Republicans in and the president has, tried to work this out just within the Democrats?
The president would welcome Republicans joining this effort to lower the cost of childcare, to make sure that families aren't paying thousands of dollars for insulin, to make sure people can afford care for their parents and loved ones. He would welcome that. I think it's not a secret that opposition is driven by the concern by many in the Republican Party that they don't want to raise taxes on corporations and highest income. That's not a secret, but certainly we'd welcome support or engagement from any Republicans in this effort to get this done.
Joe Manchin said that statement was an example of retaliation by the White House.
The statement was a statement of facts of the events of what happened over the last few weeks, and it was simply an effort to make that clear to the American people.
The president, of course, spoke with Senator Manchin many times. Senator Manchin seems to be essentially blaming the White House, right? He's referring to comments made by their staff or actions taken by the president's staff. He hasn't necessarily specified what those are. There are indications that it's perhaps a statement from Thursday. Do you think that there was a misstep on the part of the administration here? Because it feels like if you can't sort out what ticked him off, it's sort of difficult to imagine a path forward on whatever efforts to salvage this will be undertaken in the next weeks and months.
Well, look, I can't speak for Senator Manchin on what has upset him. I'll let him speak to that himself with more specifics if he chooses to, and he may or may not choose to, and that's his prerogative. All I can convey is that we continue to focus on how we're going to get this done. The door remains open. The president considers him a longtime friend, someone he's worked with on a range of initiatives and objectives over the course of the last several years that they've known each other, and that's really where we're coming at this from.
I've got a question about Build Back Better and then a question about the coronavirus.
Sure.
Build Back Better, returning to Josh and Bill's questions about Senator Manchin blaming White House staff. Steve Ricchetti was reportedly a top liaison with Senator Manchin. Is Mr. Ricchetti or any other West Wing staff being reassigned as a result of Senator Manchin's complaints?
No, and Senator Manchin hasn't even outlined more detail.
Does the president think Senator Manchin is...
He always thinks of himself as a senator. There you go. You're not wrong.
Does the president think Senator Manchin has been negotiating in good faith?
He has said that from the beginning. He continues to consider him a friend. And obviously our statement yesterday about the events of the last few weeks, I think, speaks for itself.
The reason I ask is that some progressives are alleging that Manchin was always going to be a no, and in effect bamboozled the White House into believing that he was negotiating in good faith and was going to pull the plug at the end of the process.
Well, look, I know there's a lot of theorizing out there. We certainly understand that. But the fact remains that we only have 50 votes in the Senate. That has not changed. You need all of those members to support legislation moving forward. And I know one of the arguments out there is that we should have waited on the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Look, the president has said from the beginning and continues to believe today and is committed to today to getting both done. Obviously, the infrastructure bill is now law, to getting Build Back Better done. But if the question is whether we should have delayed and not moved forward with replacing lead pipes for millions of communities, of people in communities across the country, we disagree with that. Or if the argument is that we should have waited and delayed replacing broadband, we disagree with that. And if you believe that we should have delayed in putting many union workers to work, creating many good paying union jobs, we disagree with that. We're going to get both done, and we certainly understand there's a lot of theorizing about what happened or what's going to happen moving forward. Go ahead in the middle.
Thanks, Jen. I want to ask you, I'm sorry.
We can do both. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. I want to ask you about that statement that you put out yesterday.
Sure.
Very harsh statement. It's very rare that I see a president through a statement criticizing a member of his own party in the manner in which that statement was written. And I want to ask you as to whether or not you believe that harsh rhetoric coming from the White House, the harsh rhetoric that I've seen coming from fellow Democrats, progressives in particular, may push Senator Manchin out of the Democratic Party.
Well, Senator Manchin has spoken to that, and the president continues to believe that they share a range of values. They share commitment to helping working people, to helping lower costs for the American people. Our intention yesterday was to provide specific details to the American people about the events of the last few weeks, and our statement followed a statement by Senator Manchin.
thing I wanted to ask you about are the comments of Senator Manchin over the course of the past several months. The comments that I've paid a lot of attention to, you have as well, the op-eds that he's written for both the Washington Post and his hometown newspapers, the interviews that he's done with a West Virginia radio host named Poppy Kercheval, all of them, from my perspective, seem to indicate that he was not going to support the Build Back Better bill. And yet your statement indicated utter surprise in terms of the statement that he made on Fox News yesterday. Why were you so surprised?
Well, I think, as my statement very clearly outlined, because there were private conversations and private discussions and commitments made. And so that's why we were surprised.
Senator Manchin this morning in a radio interview said this is staff, and they drove some things that they put some things out that were absolutely inexcusable. They know what it is, and that's it. Do you know what he's referring to there, and do you have a response to his comments about staff?
I don't. I would point you to Senator Manchin to outline further.
And then can you walk through, and I know you don't want to talk about yesterday's statement, but the cost benefit of, you guys have been so cautious, I think at the president's direction, of never speaking ill or laying out details of negotiations, what the calculation was by deciding to put out a 700+ word statement being very clear about, I think, some palpable anger inside the White House related to a critical vote in the caucus.
Well, I think Senator Manchin had a strong statement yesterday, and we had a strong statement as well. And we're ready to move forward and get this done and work like hell to do that. With Senator Manchin, with members of the Democratic caucus across the Democratic Party, and that's our focus moving forward. But that was our basis of our calculus yesterday.
And just one more quick one. My understanding is what Senator Manchin put on the table, which you referenced in your statement, was it a final offer? It hadn't been rejected. It was kind of a process that was underway. What is the process now? Are you working?